Bum 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 bum. You remember that? Oh man, do I miss that? Do you? I bet you do too. You remember those days? You'd hear that music come on, and you knew you were going to hear 3 hours of brilliance and political talk and social talk and humor and all sorts of things from the great Rush Limbaugh. What a guy! How he changed this country. He changed the world. And what a loss that was when he left us. My gosh. Anyway, welcome to American Reversion. It's good to have you here. I can't claim to be anything near Rush, but we'll talk about what's going on in the world today and kind of what I think about it. And then, we'll see what you think about it and see which way this country, well, we know which way this country's going. It's going down. But can it be saved? That's what we talk about here. And let's talk about it. Hey, did you like that intro? Hopefully the new intro got put on the front of this one. Pretty cool. I love it. And there is, matter of fact, I was talking to my tech guy, and he says, have you ever considered doing a podcast? And I said, well, I would if I knew what it was. And I said, what is the difference between a YouTube and a podcast? And he explained to me, well, of course, a podcast, they just hear you. And I said, well, they can hear me. They don't have to look at me when they're watching a YouTube video. I think a lot of people don't. I think that a lot of people, play these things while they're doing other things. And I'm nothing special to look at. And I don't do anything except sit here and talk. And so why do they need to watch me? He says, well, but doing a podcast, we would just take the voice. Now that we're getting all techie, now that my technical guy is trying to introduce me to, the 20th century, and then after that, the 21st, he said, but what we'll do is we'll just take off the audio of what you're putting on YouTube, but it allows us to present the material to, through more avenues, Spotify and things like that. And I said, well, hey, sounds like I don't have to do any more work. So it sounds like you're doing all the work. So let's go at it. So I don't know when that's going to happen. We will see. It's a matter of probably the most difficult part of it is going to be him explaining it to me in a way that I can understand. But at a certain point, I just turn it over to other people, and I said, go for it, go do it. So we'll see what happens there. But until that time, you can consider this your own personal podcast. You can send me over to the side. You don't have to watch me. I mean, this is one of my favorite shirts, and I know you probably want to look at it for another minute anyway, and the lanterns behind me and all that. But let's get to the news of the day. Okay. All the important people who think they're important are over in Davos right now talking about and deciding what they want to do with the rest of us, right? Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. I'll be right back. Okay, well, I'm not fancy enough to have a cough button, but I just have to put it on cough. But hey, here's something you'll enjoy, right? You remember this? you remember why Rush started doing that? Because somebody was complaining that it drove him crazy hearing the rustle of the papers. And of course, he would print out, he'd do his show prep and he'd print out what he wanted to talk about that day, and you'd hear the papers. And so he did that, kind of like I slurp my coffee to drive the people nuts who just can't stand it, toughen them up or get rid of them, one of the two, because you're not going to help us turn this thing around. Okay, so the biggies in Davos are deciding what do they want to do with us poor peons here, and today's subject is Disease X. Disease X. By the way, before we get into this, I was just checking I've already put some stuff up on the Patreon channel, and I was just checking some of the comments. My gosh. If you're not with us on Patreon, and the link is right down below, and it only costs you $1, hey, you can give more if you'd like, but it only costs you $1 a month. We have, I saw one of the most brilliant comments I have ever seen in my life. If you're not with us, you're shortchanging yourself. come on over, be a part of it. You will never be sorry that you did that. But anyway, so they're talking about disease X. I did kind of the whole show on the Integrative Preparedness channel about this disease X. It's not a real thing, and X stands for the unknown. It's whatever they decide that they want it to be. And I talked about the preparedness implications over there and all, but we're not going to do that here. I just wanted to let you know what was going on. But one of the things that they are talking about is the ecocide. You ecociders, see, those of you who are killing the planet, specifically farmers. So farmers, why do you want to kill your mother? Why do you want to kill Mother Earth? That's what they want to know. And of course, they're deciding what to do. They'll take away all of your fertilizer, and they will make you kill all your cows so they don't fart anymore. And they will shut down people who are selling raw milk, and they will shut down little Bobby and Judy with their lemonade stand if their lemons came off their own tree instead of being sprayed and brought over from South America. But they want to know that they're going to stop you. You're trying to kill Mother Nature, and boy, they're not going to have any of that. Okay, we need to fight against that, right? What did Rush used to say? Gosh, I've got Rush on the mind today. To illustrate absurdity by being absurd. Well, I'll have to work on that. So that's what they're doing over there. Now, interestingly enough, well, the CEO of the world's largest bank hints at a historic crash. Well, yeah. Well, that's Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan. Historic crash coming. Okay. I think some of us will not be surprised if that happens. Hopefully you're prepared for that. Hopefully you didn't prepare for it by buying gold. A few other things. Let's see if there's anything here we want to talk about before I get to what I've already got to talk about here. And really, there's not a lot. Okay, so let's get up into some of these things. Scientists are not warning about the latest COVID that could trigger heart failure pandemic. I also talked about that. You all are smart enough to understand exactly what's going on there. And the reason that I bring this up on this channel is, again, like I've said, to provide information to you all that you can use at the water cooler in the office. When you're drinking your refreshment out of your American Reversion cup and starting conversations, to engage people, to engage them in the conversation, and to get them on our side so that we will be able to effect an actual American reversion, meaning turning things around. We don't turn it around. We don't want to go where this bus is headed, right? So that's they're warning the scientists. Of course, the scientists, they know everything, right? Yes, they do. They will be sure to tell you that. Another story, and this is says Chinese lab creates mutant COVID strain with 100% kill rate in humanized mice. That's kind of a turn because we have a lot of mouse-sized humans, don't we? I'm not sure, what to call them. Mouse-sized is good enough. Just came to me. It sounds good to me. We got a lot of mouse-sized humans. But in this case, it's humanized mice. And I skimmed it. Apparently, they do something with the mice, and you scientists out there understand exactly how this goes. So that when they run these tests on them, they'll be able to, they will say determine, but I would say guess, the effect that a similar thing would have on humans. And so they say that a Chinese lab, big surprise, Chinese? What? China? No. They have created a mutant COVID strain with a 100% kill rate. Well, we needed that, didn't we? We needed that. Well, of course, everybody over in Davos who is wanting to depopulate the world except for themselves and their close friends, they need that. Again, I hope you all are prepared, even though this isn't really a preparedness channel. But the interesting things I found were a couple of things. First off, Victor Davis Hanson, who many of you know, I'm sure, one of the smartest guys in the world. I mean, I love listening to that guy. He doesn't do anything but sit there, but just listening to him talk it's illuminating, right? And he compared what's going on now. He's talking about civil war. Okay. Now I've mentioned some things about that. I've made it clear that the thing they called a civil war wasn't a civil war. A civil war is two or more sides fighting for control of the same government. And we might be involved in something like that now, but it's not a hot civil war. It's an attempt to take back the reins of power from a government run amok, right? That's what we're trying to do here. And it was a very interesting, and I will find, if I haven't already put it over on the Patreon channel, I think I might have. I've been doing a lot today. If I haven't, I'll find it and I'll put it up over there. That's the kind of stuff you get on Patreon. A whole lot of extra stuff besides the videos you see of mine here on YouTube. Or if you're on Patreon, you're watching it here on Patreon. But you get so much more. So that was Victor Davis Hanson, and it was an excellent. He made such great points. And maybe I will come back and kind of elaborate on that tomorrow. Maybe not. There might be other things going on. But you need to watch him explain it. Yeah, we could be on the cusp of or maybe we are in the first steps of a civil war. We are in a cold civil war. Okay, we are in a civil battle for the hearts and minds of the people. That's where the battle is now, and that's why we talk about the things we do here, and that's why the things that I talk about here, I do so and put stuff up on the Patreon channel to give you all those things that you can use to engage people around you, get them on our side. Well, there was an interesting, I did see a video this morning on the Tucker Carlson network in which Tucker is interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy. I just yesterday learned how to pronounce his name. Not Ramaswamy, but Vivek. I had been pronouncing it Vivek, the way it's spelled, but apparently it's not. Excuse me just a second. Okay, I'm back. I had to clear my throat again. There you go. I hope that can bring it back to the message. Boy, it sure is for me. So anyway, Vivek says we are on the cusp of a revolution. Now, Vivek is an extra smart guy. I've said before that I don't think that he is presidential material now. Doesn't mean he won't be in the future. We're going to have to see. He is so super smart. This guy could take a position on any side of any issue and make a case for it. You know, that's kind of what you have to be careful of, because he's saying all the right things. I'm going to have to be convinced that he means them. Simple as that. And might I say another reference to Russia, if I may. Do you remember when he used to have the color seminars? And he says, okay, folks, it's time to have another color seminar. Some of the people just aren't understanding. Well, let me have a viewer seminar here. It doesn't apply to 99.9% of you all, but it applies to the 1/100th of 1%, and I want to help those people, okay? If you come on here and leave a comment, whether it's on YouTube or Patreon, doesn't matter, be respectful. Don't start a fight. Don't start an argument. And here's where the argument's going to start. If you come on with an opinion, great. You have every right to your opinion, okay? But express it as an opinion. Don't come on and say, for instance, so-and-so is such and such. Now, I know, as your host, I do that. But, you know, I do that with the understanding that it's probably going to offend some people, and hopefully they will think about it, or they can click off. They can do whatever they want. But if you come on and do if you come on and do that, it's going to start. All I'm saying here, let me put it this way: if it's an opinion, express it as an opinion. I don't think, for instance, they're going to let Trump win. Okay, that's a reasonable opinion. I get that, and I understand all different facets of what that might mean. But if you come on and say they're not going to let Trump win, I'm probably going to say, okay, support your statement. Okay, because when I make a statement like that, it's either for hyperbolic effect or I will back it up later. Anyway, so there's our viewer seminar for today. So Vivek, though, he says we're on the cusp of a revolution. And as I said, I'm going to have to watch Vivek, see what he, I'm going to have to watch him for a few years, see what the guy really is about. I know he's smart. Got to see what he's about. One good thing, he doesn't need the money. See, this is the thing about people like Trump and him. Everybody else out there wants the money. They want the power and the money. Oh, yeah, I know this. I want to save the country. I want to do what's right and all. Yeah. There's an old saying, and I forget who said it, and I won't quote it exactly right. But it's something to the effect that a few men can withstand the highest bidder. Okay? And that's like everybody's got their price. Well, if somebody is, if the medium of exchange is money and somebody already has all the money they need, let me say that minimizes the effect that it could have. I mean, they still might get off on the power. Trump already had all the power he needed. I don't know about Vivek. It's kind of like one of those with Elon Musk. If you have the people who have the money, they don't need the money. They can do what they want. That's where money buys freedom. Okay, freedom from having to dance to somebody else's tune. Doesn't mean that that Vivek might not enjoy. Maybe he's after flying on Air Force One and talking to all the world leaders. Although why you would want to talk to most of them is beyond me. So who knows? But the rest of them out there, I mean, they're pretty mundane folks. They don't have all the money in the world. They go to Congress as, lawyers and things, doctors and lawyers, and I understand they make good money, but they don't make the kind of money they're going to make as a result of being in government service for a long time, especially at the presidential level, okay? That's why we get some of the people in those races. They're off on power. Look at Chris Christie. Look at, I'll tell you, Ron DeSantis. Oh, my gosh. Is that not a pathetic thing to watch? What he's doing, what is happening to him. He did it to himself. Okay. Anyway, back to Vivek. We're on the cusp of a revolution. Now, he is really talking about kind of what we talk about here, a revolution of thought, a revolution to where we are pushing back. And hopefully he's not talking about, although I think he does he does introduce a physical revolution and some concepts thereof. But let's stay within this mental revolution. A revolution of thought, a revolution by which we are able to turn things back as a result of our communicating with people, of our presenting our ways of people, presenting the things that we stand for and believe in, and reaching out and convincing other people that those things are right by influencing those people. And we know where our targets are. Now, I have actually been able to turn people who were fairly far left. That can be more, that was easier done years ago when the left was closer to the middle. Now they're way out. Your left, out here. Way out there. It's tough to bring them back, But what we're fighting for is the middle. That's what wins and loses elections. I've said this before. You already know this. That's what loses. Those are the people we're fighting for. And those people are won over through reason. and convincing truth. Okay, by using the fact, all we have to do is tell the truth. The other side, I've said this before, the other side lies all the time, but they do so loudly and they do so energetically and they do so aggressively, and that causes other people to listen, right? We don't do it. We tell the truth, but we just kind of talk about it, and and if somebody wants to argue, well, then we just back up. What we need to do, and what is the old saying? Old sayings are occurring to me today, although I can't recall exactly what they said. It says if you're losing an argument, strengthen your argument instead of raising your voice. Kind of like what I was going back to, how you express your comments. Express them in a way that is attractive, not repulsive. Well, I believe such and such, or I think such and such, and then that might make the other person say, well, why do you believe that? Now you're able to support your belief. Do you see? Now you start introducing facts. You don't just say, well, so-and-so's a bum and so-and-so's... I know, I say that sometimes. But I'm trying to help you, in being able to influence people. And when I'm talking to people personally, I don't talk like that. I talk reasonably. I talk convincingly. Who was it? Jerry Spence. Jerry Spence wrote a book that I never got through. I never read the whole thing. I think I've read, half of all of his books. But Kelly, my wife, saw it, and it's entitled "How to Win Every Argument" or something like that. And she kind of, because in the things on which she and I have not 100% agreed. Can you imagine that? And she was making reference to this book. She says, I bet you've memorized that book. No, I haven't. But he makes good points as I recall. And of course, those of us who have worked on the streets and have dealt with crisis management and things like that, we know the steps. Put yourself in the other person's position and then use that other person's position to bring them, as a result of reasonable questions and explanations, bring them more closely to your position. I understand what you're saying, right? Yes, I understand. And that's a good point. But let's look at such and such. What is the logical conclusion of that? Okay, see what I mean? You're gonna have a much better... Did you ever read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Was that Norman Vincent Peale? Again, another book that I read, I think, half of. Years ago, back in my 20s, because somebody said, you should read this book. And I know all salesmen, I was never a salesman. All salesmen should read it, and many other things like that. It's about influence. And our ability to influence people is important. Whether we are going to be able to, in effect, or meaning bring about an American reversion, depends entirely on how we're able to present our arguments, present our positions in such a way that it will attract other people to join us in them. Does that make sense? I hope so. It sounded like it made sense when it came out of my mouth. So I hope it made sense when it went in your ears. So that's what we have today. This week is going to be interesting to see what comes out of Davos. Now that the race is on, the next primary is in New Hampshire, and then on to South Carolina, and it'll be interesting. Now is the time, even if you don't keep up on politics, which I'll be honest, I get worn out on politics. I do. I can't stand. I can't stand watching the news shows for the most part because it's just the same people saying the same stuff every day. But now is the time to listen to it, because this is the time that you're no longer just a spectator. Now you're a participant in the fight, right? Let me see. Get rid of somebody. Now you're a participant. And if you're going to be a participant in the fight, in the argument, in the discussion, you need to know what's happening every day. So that's what I'm going to try to do here every day. Bring some talking points out, bring some things out, bring my opinions out, bring some thoughts that I would suggest you consider, and to give you all things to use in your discussions with other people as you engage them and as you go to their position where they are and try to bring them back, right? Before they go down the drain. They're circling the drain now. Try to bring them back. Bring them back. Get off the ledge. So anyway, I think that'll do it. You all have a good day, and remember that we prepare. Well, I started to say the one from the other channel, didn't I? I said America needs a reversion, and it needs you to be a part of it. And it needs me to be a part of it. It needs more people to be a part of it, and that's our job, to go out and get those people to not just listen, not just vote, but actually be a part of it so that they are at first influenced by us and then hopefully will influence others. Okay? You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.